All right, we are live now. You can see the problem. The problem is that this, we'll call it a center line, should line up with the center of the screw, and it just doesn't, which will mean that my steering arms won't be the right length. I'd need one longer than the other, which is something I could adjust, but it will mean that steering's a little bit off, and as this is a kit not exactly built to exacting standards, that I need to fix that. So the way to fix that is that there will be a spacer that needs to go in here, which is called B16, B17, or B18. I basically have to split this, careful not to drop the gearboxes, and just remount this servo with a different spacer. And those spacers are down here on this sprue. I hope your Christmas Day, wherever it is going all right. I've had a bit of a downer, but I think it's more me than anything else, and I am genuinely trying very hard to not let it sort of ruin anyone else's day. Can't always guarantee that. I don't think there are any other screws holding this together. It's just sheer friction and force of will, I think. So if I take that out, I'll leave that side in there. Okay, so now I need to undo the screws on here and then find a spacer. I think it's probably going to need a small one because it was pretty close to that line. So we'll look at this in relation to there and say it's probably got to come out. It's kind of hard to, might need to just trim that a bit. I'll just try and give this a wee trim. It's been a busy day, I think, as well, and very tiring. And I know there's something about days like this that usually do get to me, so I don't think it's anything anyone's done. And, you know, my head doesn't want, I don't want to blame anyone. How you feel is how you feel, isn't it? You know. So these are the 20mm long ones. And we'll just, I might end up with, these might be the 18s and I might need the longer ones. Oh, but I only need a couple of mil. So we put basically a spacer on there. I'm going to go for the small one to start with. So I'm going to try and pop that out. I'm going to start with the smaller spacer and see where we get. And the smaller spacer is 18. Now I've heard from other people that have done this that they needed the biggest one. So basically that sits on there. I think, yeah. And then it has to, again, I just want to have a look. If I put one screw in, I need the longer screws. Let's have a look at that line there. Probably could come out a little bit further, couldn't it? And I'll need to double check where the screws are for this. These, they look a bit longer. I might need to swap to the longer screws. Hello, got a stowaway. I'm not going to jump straight to the, should I jump straight to the longest one? Why not, since I've undone all the work. Hopefully I can redo it and then get back on, but I also need to try and think of what to use for whatever they call it for the drive shaft. Yeah, the biggest one isn't that big. because really it's only a little sort of bucket arrangement. So let's pop this out. The difference between these is, yeah, that's probably about right. Getting this arm back through that hole is a bit of a pain, and getting the servo to line up on its little dangle. All right, now I think these are now going to be too short. Yeah, they are too short. So now I need to open this bag up. I need to move those out of the way so I don't try to use them. There's two longer ones. Even they're not bloody staple. That's Billy. It is 11 o'clock at night, so I will just need to go and try and convince him to either go inside or come in to the workshop. As soon as this thing is done. Then again, it's Christmas night. People are drinking. There'll be far louder members of the community than the dog. How are we looking? I'd say that's pretty much bang on with the center. I'm happy with that. So now that that's done, I'm going to now put the case back together, and it's a bit tricky. There's this little lip here that has to align with this slot, and I've got to get the steering arm through the hole, and I've got to get the gears to sort of line up. There we go. Pop. And it's still not perfect, but it's not bad. The steering arm, you got to kind of look at the arms a little bit wonky, so it's not going to be perfectly straight in the hole. When you go through there, you could probably have done with the medium one, but it's certainly not going to be anywhere near as bad as it was before. So I'm going to call that a win, and I'm going to quickly invite the dog to come in. Come on. Come on. So you can't be a nuisance. Hello, you've got your new collar on. Are you going to come and see people? Well, people might see you when they watch back. Look, this is Billy, the workshop poodle. Hello, Bill. Can you sit? Can you sit? Oh, clever boy. Oh, thank you for that. Did you leave me a present? You have a nice new collar. Nice and bright. You're very handsome now. You could be a Bumblebee because you got yellow and black. There we go. Billy the poodle. You haven't been in on live for a while, have you, mate? Good boy. All right. Now, generally, people are more happy to see you than see me work, but there we go. Good boy. He's been very sad because we've all been out today. He's been on his own a lot. So, poor Bill. Okay. Oh, not enough. Not enough fuss. All right. People are going to be getting bored. Good boy, Billy. Good boy. All right. All right, back to it. So let's just go back to this. So now that that's back and more closely aligned, I'm actually going to, I watched build guide on this, and the guy had this servo lead very neatly sort of tucked in here. So I think I'm going to do that. Right, and now I'm going to get my fancy. This set of tools is very much worth it. Buy it on AliExpress or something. It may not be the genuine version, but very much worth the hassle. That one. Oh, how did I miss that? I suppose if you've ever seen me play basketball, you'll know how I missed that. Because I'm not a very good shot. I know, Billy. I think you'd rather we all just went inside and watched a movie, wouldn't you? For anyone that doesn't know, I bought this model. The model that this is a chassis for, I bought at the end of October. It has turned out to be my Christmas present, so extra incentive to get it finished. I don't think I'll get it finished tonight, though. Well, I know I won't. But I will attempt to at least get it back to where it should be tonight. So last night I did get to the stage of attaching the two halves together like this, if I can remember which way up it goes. So now I just need to put these 4 screws back in, and we'll almost be back to where we should have been. And at least I'm happy that I've hopefully corrected a problem, you know, before it occurs. I'm going to go opposites here. Does anyone else ever do that? You know, put in sort of diagonally opposite ones first. I've also had my son's transmitter for his brand new radio controlled Hummer in pieces today, because there was an issue with the steering, and what had turned out and happened is that the steering, I suppose, isn't done. Well, it's done with 2 sort of momentary switches, and these kind of switches are normally sort of through-hole mounted on a circuit board, and they were surface mounted with some with some glue, some sort of clear sort of silicon type glue as support, and as the little cam for the twisting action from that wheel hits the switches, they were just lifting off the board. Probably also that they're probably soldered with lead-free solder and not very much of it. So I have been soldering today. There we go, it's back together. A lot of soldering today to get everything back to how it should be. All right, so this is the stage where the drive shaft needs to be built and installed here. So it goes along here. The drive shaft says it needs some kind of glue on it. I don't have whatever they were talking about. I think they said synthetic rubber cement. I don't have any. Every time I go to buy rubber cement, I'm either told contact adhesive or super glue. I've got thick, this is like woodworking super glue, which doesn't dry very quickly, so I can't use that. And it's tricky. So this needs some bearings. There we go. This is the building of the drive shaft. So we're in long wheelbase mode, which is this one here. But basically we have to put on a bearing and synthetic rubber cement. what kind of glue is flexible. Super glue generally isn't flexible. And then there's some sort of stacked washer type things. They're little like top hat washers. So these are all from BB1. So that's the 850 bearing. And the two little pins and stuff. So let's try and find those parts. So it looks like these. Except these. They've got a little like key on them, but it doesn't look like. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those small bearings, and there's 1, 2, 3 little pins. I think I'm missing a pin right now. Maybe no, maybe I only need 2. Maybe I've got a spare. So let's find the drive shaft. The drive shaft will be a long piece of metal. Might just set that aside for a moment. Hopefully it doesn't click the mouse or anything. Driving lights and stuff. A lot of suspension components that have not yet been built. They are the covers for the drive shaft. So that we need it soon. Magnetic body parts. Nope. Oh, I think I've just seen it. It's hiding. And there's the drive shaft. Okay. So what I do have for flexible glue is I do have this stuff called E6000, which I'm dutifully told by Aussie Matt that is it's good for extreme flexibility, and it sticks anything to anything. What I'm hoping is that I can basically put this together and it should just work. It should be all right. Especially if I sort of put it together and then leave it. But I'm just looking at these little bushings and I can't see a little. Oh, can I? B2. Let's just have a look in the back of the book for B2. BC4, BC3. Let's double check. B2. They're all labeled B2. So where is B2? B. Shout out if you see B2, kids. BA2. Oh, right there. Okay, B2. They're actually on a sprue. Okay. Lovely. All right. They're on the same sprue that the servo horn and the suspension thing was on. So, oh, I lost my page. So it's not those, but that's good to know. Right, this is the section I need. B2 is So I might know, not that one. C. There they are. So these are B2, and they've got a little sort of stepped top hat type thing going on. 1, 2, 3. So what's probably happened is that those are probably the bushings that you would use, so you can't see them. These little things are probably the bushings that you would use if you didn't have the bearing, but I have bought the bearings, so I use them instead. All right, so the way that these go is there is a, I'll just sort of stack them both up at either end. There is, so I'm just going to have to get a look at this from the side. So the little top hat thing faces out on both sides. So at this end, it goes like that, goes like that, and then there is a bearing. So I'll put a bearing on there. It does say I should probably grease the end of these, so I might grease them afterwards. And then there's a pin for that. So I wonder if I can, you know what, my 3D printed dog might be about to come in very handy, because what I hope to do is, no, that won't fit. At least what I can do is I can rest it on there, can't I? You see that? And I'll try and rest it like this. Right, and so I want a little top hat bit pointing out with a little bearing. And then I want my pins. Oh, hello. This is a different bearing. Okay, hold on. Why have I got those bearings instead? I've got two like that. What would I rather have? I guess if that's going to go, I might. Why have I got those bearings? I might have just scuppered myself here. So what if I do those with also that pointing out? Are they the same height? Yeah, they're the same height. So I'm guessing you can't just say, well, you've got one because the other is. Right, so, okay, I'm going to use them on the inside because I think they're probably less critical on the inside. And I hope I'm not wrong. All right, then I've got to put in my two pins. So my pins need some glue on them, and they should drop in like that. And hopefully there's enough sticky on them that they will hold. Can I get a tiny bit on here? Oh, maybe if I sort of put a tiny bit, I only need the tiniest of bits. And then if I get a cotton swab, I can adjust this. Expertly adjusted for spreading some of this on here. And then spread a little bit on. And then what I might do is get this end and give this a little tidy up. Right. And it does say that I should probably clean it up with some acetone. So let me go get some. It says I should clean it up with acetone or citrus solvents. I mean, the only other thing I've got is I've got solvent cement, which is probably. If we do that, let's clean it up with some of this and get another thing. See if this will clean it. This is Tamiya acetone. Lovely. Let's try over here as well. And it's just making that. There we go. I think that's better. One more. Quick sort of lick over. That's better. Okay. I think that'll do. All right. Thank you, solvent cement. All right. So then the next part is I need to let that dry and put some grease on those shafts. Yes. I didn't grease the shaft before I put them, but I'll put some on now. Grease the shaft. So I'll put a bit of grease on there. I think at least coming out here and doing this gives you something else to think about, doesn't it? Hey, Bill. Billy's getting annoyed, wants to go back in, go to sleep. All right, so now I need the other top hats pointing out on both sides. So that's that one. Very definitely pointing that way. don't think I'll get the drive shaft in tonight, but I'll get it close. Then the two bearings. No. No, sorry, I've got that wrong. There's actually a couple of gears that go on there. Where did the back of gears go? It's these two. Something I didn't think I'd be doing. I didn't think I'd be jumping into so many different sprues and bags of parts. I thought it would just be, you know, one bag, you assemble everything out of that bag, go to the next bag, assemble everything out of that, and then it all comes together. So these are both G2. Take my hat off to the guy, to Mark, who did this build and didn't stuff anything up. Okay, so they go on, and then the little top hat bit, and then the bearing. So that goes on the other way up. Ooh, that nearly went bad. That nearly went very badly. Like that. And then the same over here. So that one on there. And then the other bearing, which is there. Okay. So that kind of completes the set. Then we get our chassis back in. And this should, now this is why I've got a piece of wood or a solder roll to try and balance this on. So this should now drop into here, and there's a little cutout for everything to sit in. And I've just found a mistake that I wanted to fix, so I'll try and show you. Oh Jesus, hold on. Oh dear, that might be a disaster. Beep, Bill. I have just lost a piece. Oh bugger. Okay. Oh, I've just found the piece. Okay. Basically, the inner bearings are in the wrong spot, which means I've got to push this out. Try and get it out. Get that bearing off. Swap it around the other way. Get that pin back in. And all should be okay. I'm going to do the same this side. Take them off. That off. That out. That off. Spin it around. that back in. That back on. Like that. This one. There you go. Top hat. Little thing. And the bearing back on there. And then I'll try and explain what the problem was and why that needed to change. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, but there's a cutout in the frame for a little top hat type bearing, and I'm guessing if you use a regular bushing it doesn't matter, but if you're not, if you're using a it's a bit fiddly. That's the wrong side. That's got a yeah. So there's attaching it. Attaching the prop shaft. I think that seal needs to be the other way around. I think it would clear if this little grey doodad was the other way around. So I'm going to take this off again, push this out again. So that has to go that way, I reckon. Which I'll probably get the book back later and go, oh yeah, that is what it clearly shows, but I just want to see if it now goes in easier on this side. There's no really. That's not meshing. It's not sitting down where it needs to sit. That side's okay. But then again, that side's the side that I haven't done the thing to, so. There's no sort of mention about if you're doing this with the, what they call the hop-up options. There you go. I can see that. Seems to be sitting down a bit better. It's a real pain at the minute trying to keep this all steady. I don't think it's in. Of course, the other option is to swap the bearings around, but it does quite clearly show a cutout for that style bearing. But all right, nightmares. Okay, this glue is going to be well and truly gone off by then. So if I take them off, right, and I have the top hat pointing that way, regular bearing. Yep, Billy, I'm tired too. Caps off a crapulent day, my friend. Perfectly crapulent day. And then bearing there. And I'll just sort of see if that is. It doesn't really show which side of the housing everything's got to go in. Like, does that end up forming a seal if you sort of pull that back? Oh, I don't know. I'm getting too tired and the glue's drying and it's all too hard. let's try this option. Point that towards the end, like that. Yeah, that way. Point that towards that way, like that. That's all back to front. Here's the thing. What if the bearing is meant to go in and that little part is actually just meant to seal up on the other side of the holder? What if that's what it's meant to do? Yeah, maybe. Maybe there'll be a better day tomorrow. Who knows? You know, I just want to... No, those... that one's the right way around. Right, so that sits down in there. And then I just wonder whether that is meant to become a seal when the bucket thing goes on. So that one's right. I think this one's still back to front. It's going to really suck if I've got this wrong. And the glue dries. So let's try this now like this. So that goes in there. That should go in there, down there. That should go in there, down there. Like that. Yeah, I can hear it indexing much better. Okay, so, bastard. I think that's how it goes. I think that's a better look. Okay, so then on the end of it, it has a little top hat dude like that. And it has a bearing. And that should be the opposite for the other end. And I think what happens, to be fair, is that somewhere I'm missing a bearing. There it is. I think that goes on there. I think it goes in there and drops in. And this one goes up, drops in that. And I think the grey ring goes in there. And yeah, it's turning everything now. So what I think is that little grey, it's kind of hard to show. This little grey seal part here, I think closes up against the back of the drive shaft covers, I reckon. I would say that's what it does. Could be wrong. I might be about to find out that I'm wrong, but let's have a look. Because that should be the cover there. Because it doesn't physically fit inside there. And then once that's on, I think it shouldn't move out, but we will see in a moment. Camera is slowly drifting down. Don't drop. Don't drop. I think if I get my fingernail down here, I don't think they're going to rattle loose. It seems to be fairly captive now. I think it's going to work. I can't really spin the drive shaft now to check, but can I get to a gear to try and spin it and see if the drive shaft spins? Maybe. Yeah, it's moving. So I'm going to say that is one of the weird little idiosyncrasies. So that little seal, it doesn't really show you how it sits in the little bucket. But once the drive shaft covers are tightened over the top, it seems to be held captive in there quite well. The other knowledge tonight is the center line with that screw head. Use the spacers. So, all right, that's as good as I'm going to get it tonight. I've got to do it. It's my Christmas present. Yeah, it just doesn't really show how to do it. All right, so that looks like it's the end of part B. So part C is getting all the steering and suspension parts together. So I guess that'll be not steering. Well, the front steering and the rear steering arms and the suspension and the dampers and stuff. So that's going to be a lot of finger work that will be very painful. Anyway, I'll leave it there. See ya.